Oh my God!
What is up, guys? Luke back again with another video, and today is a nightmare. Oh my gosh. We just got in a Nintendo Switch that was in complete shambles. It was a previous repair job. It looks really bad though, but it's gonna be kind of a fun adventure. So stick with us and we'll see what we can do with this thing. Before we get started though, if you have not liked this video, do me a big favor and smash that like button, as well as subscribe with bell notifications turned on. With that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, this one has not been made easy for us. This one came to us in pieces, and what I would recommend when starting at this is to start by pulling all the parts out of the baggie that they probably came in and just verify that you have all the screws that you need and all the parts that you need. And we're gonna kind of spread those out and organize them. Okay, so now that we have that all done, it's time to take a look at this motherboard. The customer came in and said that there was an issue with the USB-C charging port. So we're gonna take a look at that real quick and see what happened. And
oh my God!
The USB-C port has, I'm gonna guess, the previous owner tried to dremel this thing out by cutting the legs. I have no idea, but
homie tried to slice through this thing. Yeah, dude, he cut there too. He's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, freaking Leatherface with a Dremel.
We got quite the job ahead of us. So we're gonna go ahead and start by cleaning off the thermal paste on the Nintendo Switch's main logic board, and then try to make some sort of sense out of what has happened here. So this thing is so mangled. Really all we can do at this point is just try to remove the port, hope that no pads are ripped, and just do a major cleanup job. And as you can see, I'm applying tons of flux to this just to make sure that we have the best chance of liquefying the solder, because this is lead-free solder that we're dealing with, so it does have a higher melting temperature. Just make sure we get a nice flow of flux just staying on those solder joints as we try to pull them off. And I also went as far as to take some solder that's leaded solder and kind of dilute that lead-free solder so that it'll come free a little bit easier. We are dealing with a couple of factors here. We are dealing with the solder that is being kind of stubborn and not wanting to come off, as well as we're dealing with the melted ABS plastic that has kind of made a connection or just like a infused to the board. So as we persevere, we will overcome and eventually get this poured off. I will say this, just really do not force anything, guys. If you're working on this at home and you're not just using it for entertainment value, which I would recommend, by the way, definitely don't try to force anything, because you will rip pads. These pads are very delicate, and you do not want to go down the nightmare of pad replacement or a trace repair. It absolutely sucks. And it's free. Okay, we finally got that port free. Now it's time to do a little bit of cleanup. In my case, we had the port actually cut out, and part of the Dremel you can see actually cut into the motherboard. Luckily, it didn't sever any main connections, but we did have those legs from the previous port hanging out inside of the ground pin holes. So we had to heat up those ground points and pull out the shards of metal that were left after they were severed from the port. After that, it was time to douse this thing with some isopropyl 99% rubbing alcohol and just do a really good cleaning job, getting rid of all the plastic bits that fell off as this port was, well... Okay, so at this point we have the board all cleaned up. It looks like the traces are in good shape, so I pulled out my trusty desoldering gun and attempted to pull solder out of the ground pins so that the USB-C port would rest nicely inside of that Nintendo Switch board. I used the desolder gun, and I actually realized that it's probably not the best tool to use with this. And later on, you'll see I actually switched over to a desoldering braid and had a lot more luck. Desoldering guns, do not get me wrong, are really great. They come in handy many times during kind of the process of repair in this level of repair. But in this case, it was actually easier to run a hot iron and some desoldering braid. Okay, now this is starting to look pretty good. All the pads seem to be intact. There is a slight bit of damage, but it looks like it's outside of any major components or traces, so we actually might be able to fix this thing. It's an absolute miracle. So we're gonna kind of do a final clean and then start applying solder to each and every pad. Nice fresh solder. We desoldered all that old crap off. Now we're gonna put a nice layer of leaded solder on each and every pad and get it prepped and ready for the port to be laid down on it. And now we're gonna go ahead and do just a small test fit just to make sure that our new port is going to fit in there nicely and it's gonna be flush with the board. Okay, good to go. Now it's time to heat that board up and drop the port down on it. Not yet. I do one extra thing just to make sure everything goes together because we got kind of one shot at this, so we want to make sure that it's right. I will actually flux and pre-tin the legs on the port itself so that when it lays down, everything's pre-tinned and it makes a nice connection right away. Okay, here it is, the moment of truth. Time to lay this port down onto the board. This is the trickiest part of the entire repair. It's pretty difficult. We're going to go ahead and heat up the entire board along with all the pads on the board. Wait till they liquefy, and then we're gonna drop that port down onto the board and remove heat and hold it down with tweezers until it solidifies. And then we cross our fingers, we hope and pray that everything's back together. If it's not, we tear it down, we do it again. Okay, so once we're happy with all the connections and we're ready to say that it's good to go and ready for testing, we're gonna add solder back to all those ground points. This is kind of what makes the port solid to the board. So if you forget to put solder in the ground points and it starts getting used, any kind of tweaking could rip pads and cause serious unrepairable damage. So we're gonna take each one of these ground points and add solder to it. Yay! Now it's time for the reassembly process. If you have any questions, you can hit me up in the comment section down below. Key here is to put everything back where it came from. Hopefully you had some organization and you can make that happen. And most of all, do not forget thermal paste on the heatsink on the top of the chip where the chip and the heatsink connects, as well as on top of the heatsink, so that you get proper heat dissipation and you don't have issues with overheating down the line.
Joy! I love seeing that thing pop up. Woo! Gets me excited.
We have a power indicator, so we are getting charged, but we're not out of the woods yet. We need to dock this thing and see if we can get an output. So we're gonna let this thing charge overnight and we will do the dock the next day. So we got a nice full battery and see what we got. Okay, so here we are the next day, ready to plug this thing in. I took the liberty of testing everything and stuff off camera. We got it all back together, but I did want to show you guys it up and working. So after all, we're able to bring this thing back to life. I still can't believe that we're able to, especially after seeing the damage that was done to the board. Someone took a Dremel to this thing and tried to cut that port out. So just a word to the wise, don't ever try to do that. That is a horrible idea. You need to either buy the equipment or bring it to a professional like me. A repair like this would run you around $100. And to be honest, when you consider the total cost of a new Nintendo Switch, that's pretty darn fair. If you don't have the equipment and you don't have the expertise, and this is not something that you want to make at least a part-time hobby or a side hustle, just have a professional like me do it. But hopefully you guys got enjoyment out of this video. We certainly did. It was a great time. And by the way, we do these live on stream a lot of the time. So I kind of kill two birds with one stone. I do it live and then I condense it down for you guys over at YouTube. I have recently moved over to Twitch, so it's now twitch.tv/theprayinggamer. That's kind of my Twitch streaming handle, so go and check it out. We do stream every Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening, doing repairs, gaming stuff, and much more. If you got value out of this video, do me a big favor and smash that like button, as well as subscribe with bell notifications turned on so you can catch me every time I post a new video. And finally guys, have you ever had a switch repair attempt go wrong? Let me know in the comment section down below how that went. And lastly guys, if you want to support me monetarily, we have a Patreon down in the description. But that's it for me guys. Luke from 8-Bit Plus signing out, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless.